Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, guys, for some of you, you might know a lot of this if you've been part of the family for years. For others, some of this is going to be shocking, if not absolutely sacrilegious.
That's very, very true, yes.
But this is what Cindy and I are here to do. Break down walls, open up minds, and get people to see the bigger picture, thinking out of one box, recognizing you're still in another box, getting out of that box, escaping all the boxes of this matrix. She's giggling. She's giggling.
Yeah, because there's so many boxes.
We are within a box, 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 within a box.
And then even after that, you have to remain open to understand. You still might be being manipulated. It's tough out there.
It's seriously tough. And, you know, it can drive people almost insane. That's why many people will say, I'm going to believe what I believe. It was what was taught to me by my parents, by my uncle, by my teachers, by the guy next door, by the milkman.
Right, because it is true. It's scary to understand that your belief system has been shattered and now you have to find your own. That's a very frightening journey to journey alone, but this is why we're here to tell you guys you're not alone.
Absolutely. The unveiling comes to all in time. Yeah. For many, it might come after the end of this physical life. Mm-hmm. And then you all of a sudden realize, wow, okay, well, wasn't what I thought.
That's for sure, right.
Absolutely. But the good thing is, you know, we are eternal beings. We are eternal beings having a temporary human experience. This body is but a vessel. And please do subscribe and join us on both channels, EEARTS and also on Evolutionary Energy Arts. So the last video on Evolutionary was, are reptilians among us? In my mind, the answer is, yeah, of course. They've been here for thousands of years, if not longer. And actually, you know, it's a cyclic thing. Again, we have to think in terms of a spiral instead of a circle. And no, time's not really linear. And time itself ultimately is an illusion anyway.
It is. It is definitely a man-made construct.
Well, it's the only way we could perceive things in these limited bodies. And we are truly unlimited beings in a limited body, a limited vehicle. And they're trying to take your Ferrari and turn it into a Yugo or a Pinto.
So let's not let them.
No, and that's being done through genetic modifications of all sorts. So when we look to the sky in medieval Europe, medieval Israel, what did we see? Well, this guy, he's looking up, he's seeing something that in modern times we might call a flying saucer or a UFO. So one of our family members sent me a video and said, please watch it. It's only 15 minutes. Please watch it. Maybe this explains everything. And the video was a channel that was basically saying, I got it, guys. I got the answer. The answer is there's not aliens. It's all the Nazis. The Nazis are doing this. You know, the crash at Roswell, that was the Nazis in those flying saucers. Or actually, I think that guy was saying those were the Nazis, and it was the Nazis, not really extraterrestrials. And so it's always been just humans here. But were there Nazis in 1289 AD? Mm-hmm. When's the origin of the National Socialist Party? It wasn't in 1289 AD. So how do we explain this? Well, it was just a strange cloud. Why? Maybe it was an angel of the Lord. He looks curious. He's like, wow. Meanwhile, we're seeing the Virgin Mary, and we're seeing an angel playing with little baby Yeshua. And when we look at the crucifixion here, we see guys in UFOs, you know, manning them. These are guys in ships. Are the angels? Is this what people meant by angels? Again, what is the original translation of angel? Well, the Greek word that was used basically denotes messengers. So this is where everything is twisted. Are there angels? Yeah, there are angels. Were many things taken to be angels that were extraterrestrials? Perhaps. and interdimensionals, because there are beings that know how to change their vibratory frequency so that they might appear solid in 3D when they're normally in 4D. When we are sleeping, we become inhabitants of a 4D realm. That's where we go when we're sleeping. We actually leave the body and explore elsewhere. We're tied by the silver cord to our body, and we come back to the body under most circumstances. Sometimes if we're jolted back into the body suddenly, we might find that we can't move because we've jolted back too quickly, and we have what's called sleep paralysis. Other times there's entities that literally try to take us out of the body, and that causes the sleep paralysis because they're actually taking basically the energy body out of the physical body. The physical body is only one layer to your body. There are multiple layers, many, many layers. Actually, there's probably more than any of us really know. We're much more complex than we think. And how do are these guys Nazis? These aren't Nazis up in the sky here. Again, around the crucifixion of Yeshua. Well, actually, we've gotten that Yeshua wasn't crucified. It was actually his brother, Thomas, who really was a twin. But still, at that time period, 30 AD, 35 AD, 36 AD, whatever it was, there were no National Socialists around, at least not that we know of.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to bring up these minor details.
Minor details. And here, Moses, he's got the 10 Commandments. He's happy. He's running, and you can't really make out, but he's got 2 horns there. Why does he have 2 horns there? Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's not his crown chakra, because the crown chakra, there's just one crown chakra. It looks like he's running with the 10 Commandments towards some UFOs that are booking. Isn't that curious? Let's just do one more really quick. I'm going to hand this to Cindy for a comment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, it looks like he's trying to get the attention of those UFOs, or he's excited about finding something, or who knows. But a lot of this stuff has been in our grasp and in front of us for many, many years.
Look at Moses' horns. Moses' horns. Moses' horns. Moses has horns. Moses has horns. Moses has horns. Moses has horns. Why is Moses laden with horns?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's all over. Well, actually, I got ideas, and I'm going to share them with you at the end. It's interesting because many people have never noticed that. Oh, okay, so there's Moses running. Oh, this dude's got horns too. Wow, he's got a face on his bumpkin. That's really weird. Now, again, this is a medieval painting, and a lot of these are from like 1000 to 1400 AD. And here we see somebody that looks very, very papal, talking to the devil. He's showing him a book. Here we have a little Japanese, this was a wood cutting, I believe, showing a clear saucer on the ground. I don't think, and this is again from Japan, this is again probably 1,000 years old. There were no National Socialists around, just saying. And again, a UFO beaming down light, and this is, again, I think that's, I'm not sure if that was the baptism of Yeshua with John the Baptist, but again, those times, clearly a flying saucer in the sky beaming down light. Is that an angel of the Lord? How about this angel of the Lord? Beaming down a golden light from a very circular cloud. Could be holding a saucer in there. Oh, here's the Holy Spirit coming down as a dove into the crown chakra of Mary. Yeah, I love that one. That was a great one. It's actually called the Adoration of the Extraterrestrials. That is so perfect. That must be a modern name for an old painting. And it is. It is an ancient painting. It's a wonderful painting. I love it. This is one of my favorites. I wish we had a copy of it. Heavenly vortex and holy dove are standard devices found in many Annunciation scenes. Why does it come from extraterrestrials?
I don't know. It's I always thought, well, maybe they're just spending some extra time on the clouds.
Absolutely. Well, again, and we've shared with you guides that we have guides that many of you know. Yeshua, both Marys, are our guides of ours. They know the Galactic Fed. The Galactic Fed knows them. Yes, there is a counterfeit Galactic Federation. Of course, because anything that's out there that is real and benevolent, the controllers, again, we got to keep referring back to question number 1 or answer number 1, however you want to put it. Who controls the world? Is there a hand? Who controls the world? Well, who does the Bible say controls the world? I see a cute girl in the front row here.
Well, Satan controls.
Good girl. Give her. There's the gold star on the forehead. She got it. So if Satan controls the world, don't you think Satan controls the narrative? It's only logical, guys. Here's another wood cutting. And, again, the original is from hundreds of years ago. It's a nice classic saucer you got up there in the sky. Here's another one. And look at the people praying to it. Praying to it. Ships in the sky. Ships in the sky. Look at more ships in the sky. Check out that ship, she says. Whoa! It's an angel of the Lord. And then we got all these beings in different art that's really old, all over the place, Southwest U.S., showing beings that look like they're in some sort of suits. It's just there. This is everywhere you look. They have found countless artifacts in Mesoamerica. They look pretty much like UFOs to me. They look very similar to the ones that the Nazis were building because they got information from some extraterrestrials, interdimensionals. Yes, extraterrestrial and interdimensional, we should put those two together. Do we really think that there's no other life on the 3D realm when we know there's an infinite number of galaxies all around us? There's so many galaxies all around us. And this entire universe is just one universe. There's an infinite number of universes. There's more universes out there than there are cells in your body, and there's trillions. So obviously there's life in the 3D realm everywhere, but there's also life in 4D and 5D and 6D and 2D. And so, life abounds all over, not just in one density, as we see. These ancient artifacts are all over the place. People have been seeing what looks like just classic saucers and many times, rockets of some sort. And again, this is a Mesoamerica one. That's a pretty damn clear depiction of some sort of vehicle that's used for flying. Or maybe it's used under the water too. Again, classic saucer shape. And then we got the lizard men everywhere. Lizard men in Mesoamerica, lizard men in Southeast Asia, lizard men over in the Fertile Crescent area. And then we got these strange metallic spheres that date to 2 billion years old. They're darn near close to the beginning of the Earth, according to modern calculations. What are they doing here? Who made those? Certainly not Homo sapiens. That sure looks like some sort of space chute, does it not? How about these? These look very much like grays. These look like grays. They're finding these things all over the world in excavations. Nothing to see here, right? Wait a minute. Hey, that guy's got kind of a weird elongated head. Look at those big black eyes. I've seen that before. Interesting. Oh boy, he's brought his brother with him too. Now they're just masks. There's nothing to see here. Well, how about this dude? And there's another saucer shape up in the sky. Yep, saucers everywhere. Anywhere we look, there's more and more flying ships all over the globe.
I know that one flying ship back there, if you go back one, first of all, it's very difficult. I don't know how they made these because, of course, they only had chisels and hammers, right? So it must have taken a lot of time to get these down. But then if you look closer, they almost look like tanks and helicopters.
They sure do. So, does that, some people have said that, well, these are all actually time travelers. They're actually still from here. Because for whatever reason, it seems like some people don't want to admit that there's life on other planets. And that the reality is we live in much more of a Star Wars situation than most people realize. And we actually have these elongated skulls, not just found in Paracas. Paracas is famous for these. In Serbia, too. That you find these around the Black Sea. And you do find them in South America. And also what's coincidental about this, or maybe not, is you find some intertwined DNA lineage that shouldn't be there by modern historical, thinking.
Right. I mean, there's just so much information, and we're only taught like one basic line of thinking in school, and it's always, this isn't possible.
Well, they say that what happened was people thought this was something that was beautiful. So when kids were born, babies were there, they strapped boards on the heads because they wanted to emulate the gods and make them have conical heads like that. Okay, well, what gods were you looking at that had conical heads? Better yet, though, the biggest thing is, if you guys understand the skull, the skull in a baby, these plates are not fixed. They're actually floating. They they calcify as we get older. There's a certain number of plates. We have the frontal, we have the sphenoid, we have the parietal. And the foramen magnum is in one spot, always the same spot. And that's where the spinal cord goes through. Now, what we find with these is that the plates are not the same as in Homo sapiens, and the foramen magnum is in a different spot. In other words, it ain't human. It's not Homo sapiens, we could say. It's humanoid. But as you see here, the spinal column enters the bottom of the skull very much farther back than normal. A genetic adaptation? Or are they just simply a different species of humanoid? Cranial knitting present in all human skulls. It's not there. This is a different species. This is a different species. But then there's been many, many different species upon the planet. And some of these beings, offsprings, are still amongst us. This is the class that rules the planet that we see, which is there are hybrid offsprings. As you look at Jacob Rothschild, the shape of the skull. You ever wonder why the Pope has a hat the way it is? Because it was to cover up their pointy heads. Seriously now. When we look to Nazca, another fabulous place over there in South America, very fascinating, we see the Nazca Lines, which are so immense that you can't see what they are from the ground. You could only see it from way above the surface. Why would people ever do that unless they're trying to say hi to somebody flying above? It's just obvious. When we look to the plagues of Justinian, there were signs in the sky before the plagues came, and these were bad. These were a cousin and a precursor to the Black Death. It was a bubonic plague that killed as many as 5,000 people a day and cleared away up to a quarter of the eastern Mediterranean population. So much worse than what we've seen in this current plague upon the land. It wiped out a quarter of the population in that area. 25%. Huge, huge, huge number. And many people saw unusual things in the sky right before the plague hit. One chronicler of Justinian's plague was the famous historian Gregory of Tours, who documented a number of unusual events from the plague years. He reports that just before Justinian's plague invaded the Auvergne region of France in 567 AD, 3 or 4 brilliant lights appeared around the sun, and the heavens appeared to be on fire. Could it have been a sundog? Maybe. Were they spraying chemtrails? We know from declassified documents they've been spraying the skies from here in this modern age for 70 years. But what if the humans that are doing that now learned that technique from somebody else, just like the Nazis learned how to make those flying saucers?
Well, they always have to go back to, oh no, we're alone, it's just us, because these beings don't like to be tattled on or even known about, because if we know about them, it kind of ruins their whole game plan.
So another historian reported a similar event 23 years later in another part of France, Avignon. Strange sights were reported in the sky and the ground, sometimes as brilliantly illuminated at night as in the day. So the night got turned to day sometimes from these lights. Shooting star? Swamp gas from Uranus? Perhaps ETs. Perhaps beings that are not Homo sapiens. Shortly thereafter, a disastrous outbreak of the plague occurred there. Gregory reported a sighting in Rome consisting of an immense dragon which floated through the city and down to the sea, followed by a severe outbreak of the plague immediately after. Such reports chillingly suggest the unthinkable, that Justinian's plague was caused by biological warfare agents spread by custodial or controller aircraft. It would be a repetition of similar plagues reported in the Bible and ancient Mesopotamian texts. By the time of Justinian's plague, however, the custodians were invisible. So this is from the Gods of Eden, which was a great book. You could read it in one sitting. It goes by so fast. And very well researched, which gets you thinking about the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud and to lead them along the way. And we're talking about Moses, right? And somehow they got lost for 40 years in there. And then at night by a pillar of fire to give them light. Now we could clearly translate that nowadays and understand that ships are always up there in the sky, and when they do have cloaking technology, and yeah, sometimes there will be clouds that appear to hide the ship. Also, much of the craft is able to shift dimensionally from 3rd to 4D. So that's not a stretch to think that a cloud could be leading a group of people somewhere. Or by a pillar of fire during the day. You know, we've seen pillars of fire like that too. This was a shot that I took in New Mexico. Yeah, this all goes together. It ties together. We've never been alone here. The controllers gave us everything. They gave us our religions. They've changed everything around. Moses at the burning bush. Now Moses was tending a flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the back of the desert, came to Horeb, mountain of God, and the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of the bush. So he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. Then Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. So when the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him from the midst of the fire and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. Then he said, Do not draw near this place. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. And moreover, he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the oppression of my people who are in Egypt. And then, he promised to lead them. But when you look at, he says, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. So the way he words that, if he's making a distinction that he's the God of these people, then he's not the God of other people. That means just logically that there's other gods, or there's other beings of the classification of this particular being. That's just logical. It's actually even in the Bible. It said that thou shalt not have any other alien gods. Well, where was Abraham from? He was from Ur of the Chaldees. And when we look to what's depicted, the burning bush, and you see the legends of the jinn. The jinn appear as fire themselves. Think of fiery elementals, and it's interesting too. Islamic lore says they were created before humans, and they were created of the elements themselves. So was he actually talking to a jinn? And we have seen one ourselves too, and we actually got photos of it, as we've shared this with you guys too. And this being, we suspect, slaughtered all these sheep and goats that were there, as this was in Mississippi, and we've shared this story with you guys many, many times, and we caught this being on the camera there. So you might be looking at an actual jinn. That's what it feels like. And here you could see it looking right at them. What does this being give you as far as a feeling? I mean, what does it make you feel? What does it make you feel, Cindy?
Well, it gives you that feeling of just really uneasy, disturbed energy. And even these animals, they ultimately walked away, and I think that's in the video too, that they took a look and they just walked away. They went the other way. But this definitely gives me a lot of pushback. It also has this notion and this energy of control about it, and another feeling of spite or revenge. So this being is, I think this is what drives it, are all these negative energies, and they're swirling, and creating a wake of negative energy around them.
Absolutely. And this was filmed in April of last year, and this was south of Hattiesburg, just south of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and right near an Air Force base. Actually, it's one of the larger Air Force bases. So this is basically when David does a census, and this is First Chronicles. There's another version too of this, as you see over here in 2 Samuel, talking about the same. And there was a comment that somebody said, yes, I believe that the entire Bible is the 100% true Word of God, and it's perfect cover to cover. And here in one account we see it's God that is mad at David, so he makes David go and do a census after he told David to, whatever you do, don't take a census of the people. And the other one, it says Satan stood up and decided to make David do that so he would get punished. So what happens is, so obviously those two are contradicting each other. Or somebody will say, well, actually, God moved Satan to do it. They always try to rationalize things just to defend it. But there's so many things we could bring up that are truly indefensible. And we've talked about Jericho and how, it's said to slaughter every man, woman, and child inside Jericho, but take the gold and the silver and put it in the storehouse of the Lord. And again, we were told, thou shalt not kill. Then how do you have go kill every man, woman, and child? How can you possibly, there is no justification for that ever. And people will rationalize saying, well, they're the sons and daughters of the Nephilim. No, they weren't. The DNA evidence doesn't show that. What we've found from the people that were living in that area is very, very similar DNA to who are there now. Just another persecuted people. Again, just another scapegoat. That whole concept of scapegoat, even comes up.
And we want to be very, very careful with this, because guess what? We're sitting in that position now. So we could be sitting in a book of some other entity that's controlling, and they could say, go kill every man, woman, and child, and somehow justify it. So really, there is no difference other than just the time.
So for his punishment, he gets to choose. David gets to choose. So God says to David, choose one of these three things. You pick one. 3 years of no food in the land, 3 months to be destroyed by the sword of those who hate you, or 3 days of the sword of the Lord. This would be a disease sent upon the land. The angel of the Lord would destroy with disease through all the land of Israel. Now decide which answer you're going to make. So David made his decision, and his decision was the 3 days. So the Lord sent a disease upon Israel, and 70,000 men of Israel died. And then he sent an angel to destroy Jerusalem, and right before he was going to destroy it, he saw the trouble and he was sorry, so he pulled the angel back. Is that the benevolent source of all life on every single universe that there is? Obviously not. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. I'll have all the links for you guys as always. you got to ask questions too, like how did the Dogon tribe know Sirius B existed? This is an African tribe that knew Sirius B existed before science did, because it's a dwarf. It's a dwarf star that you can't see with the visible eye, but they knew it was there. How did they have that knowledge? Not only that, but they say their roots are from that star system. I don't think the Nazis and their saucers went back through time and picked them up, and no, that doesn't work. But then when we look to the Vedas, we see they tell us there's all different humanoid beings here, and in the Golden Age, mankind was led by the Devas. So when we're in a 5D existence, we have certain beings that are around us, and they're basically pretty benevolent. And they teach us the actual truths of how the universe works. They teach us things like there is one source. That source is in everybody. Everybody has that source in you. And they teach that there's life out there. Life is abundant. They teach about how to cultivate chi and prana, how to live healthy, how to cultivate happiness and joy in your life, all the basic good things. And then as we descend out of the Golden Age into the Silver, you start to get a little bit of the dark side starting to gain knowledge, gain power, starting to work and weave their way. They're still not dominating, but they're starting to be present, starting to whisper in the ears of those that can be controlled through ego, jealousy, lust for power, all these different things. And by the time we get to the Bronze Age, then we're starting to get into trouble. And then, of course, the Kali Yuga is where we have been. And then we're surrounded all by the Dark Ones, the exact opposite of the Golden Age. In the Golden Age, we're surrounded by the benevolent beings, the true benevolent beings. And they're known as Devas in the Vedic texts. They teach us that our universe is just one universe amongst unlimited material universes. You can't count all the universes. Every one of those universes has a different creator. So the creator of this particular universe is not necessarily the creator of another universe. And yet there is one source. One source.
Mm-hmm. And, you get so many more answers and so many understandings, and you're not just left kind of stumped, with information, thinking, what does that mean? Because you can go into these books and you can go searching for answers, and you'll find them, because they do explore consciousness on so many different levels.
And you are a universe. We've talked about this before. You have something called a microbiome in you. There's 10 times the number of your cells in things that are not you living in you. So to all these different bacterias and things along those lines that are living in your body, you are the entirety of the universe. And they even equate that here in the Puranas and in the Vedas and in teaching that ultimately we are living in the mind of God. We're actually living in the body of a being. The entirety of everything you see is just perhaps, a small little portion of the body of an actual being on this 3D level. And still, that being is inside of another being. This is how consciousness works. This is how the universe works. It's a fractal universe. Fractal. The whole is contained. The essence of the whole is contained within the individual. So here we see Deuteronomy 32:8, which I've quoted many times. When the Most High God, now again, right there, the Most High One. Which one? The Most High One. His ship's up there. The other one's got their ships over there and there. Oh, okay, that one you mean. Oh, okay, I get it. Now, you're talking about a being amongst the same category of beings. So when the Most High One divided the nations according to their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, now, there's many different translations of this. And sons of Adam is not one that you always see. You'll see sons of the gods. Sons of God, the sons of the gods. He appointed the borders of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. And the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. That was from a 1599 Geneva translation. If we look at other translations, we'll find that it's slightly different. So when we look to this one is the complete Jewish Bible. It says, when Elyon gave each nation its inheritance, when he divided the human race, he assigned the boundaries of peoples according to Israel's population, but Adonai's share was his own people, Yaakov, his allotted heritage. Now, when we look back and we understand that the Anunnaki gods, the Sumerian gods, each had their own city. There were patron deities of each individual city. When we hear from the Bible that where did Abraham come from? He came from there. He came from Samaria. He came from Ur of the Chaldees. That's thought to be where he comes from. He comes from Ur. Okay. So, you're saying he comes from a Sumerian heritage. Oh. Because, again, the Bible is just revisions of the much older tales that we get from Sumeria. And they predate the Bible by thousands of years. So then you got to wonder, well, who was the deity that was, the patron deity of Ur? And it was the moon god. The moon god was the tutelary deity of the city of Ur. His reach and importance was far greater than just a city god. The moon god is clearly one of the more important deities in the wider pantheon. And so referred to as Nana or Sin. Oh, there was a word in the Bible called Sin, wasn't there? And you know what's fascinating too is when you look at his symbol and his symbols. The primary symbol of the moon god was a bull, the result of a horizontal crescent of the waxing moon appearing similar to the horns of that animal. Wait a minute. The crescent of a waxing moon, the horns of an animal. That's reminding me of something. This symbolism led to a consideration of the moon god as a cowherd. So you mean he's got a flock? He's like a shepherd. He's a cowherd. Interesting. Most celebrated most clearly in the composition, the herds of Nana. Nana, Nanar, Sin. Horns, moon god, moon. There are legends all around the world of a time before the moon was in the sky. The Etruscans spoke of it. Aristotle spoke of it. Apollonius of Rhodes spoke about it. Hippolytus as well. The legends all over that the moon was brought here. There's African tribes that say the moon was brought here by two brothers that were constantly at war with each other. Sounds an awful lot like Enlil and Enki, doesn't it? The moon itself, well, according to some and according to what we got, is a base. It is a base, and the Anunnaki are the ones that brought it here. When you think about the symbol of Islam, you think crescent moon, don't you? But if you tilt that a little bit, it is like two horns, is it not? Interesting. I showed Cindy this because this is associated with Nanar, and this is associated again with what we were just talking about. I showed her this after I asked her, can you remote view Nanar, Nana Sin, Nanar Sin, and will you share what you got?
Mm-hmm. So what they showed me is this being comes down from the sky on a platform, and he's standing in the middle of his platform. He's really, people are quite frightened when this guy shows up because he's very controlling. He's very negative. He inflicts punishment. He inflicts anything he wants to harm people. He's just not nice. And that's the thing that kept coming through is people cower when this guy shows up. And it felt really awful. His energy is just awful. So that's what came through is this control and his desire for control and to look down on the crowds and belittle people. And if anyone displeased him, he would just get rid of them. It was kind of a yucky vision.
Absolutely. But this is how they were. This is exactly how they ruled, through fear, through absolute imposing of their will. Wait a minute. Look at the way he's holding his arms. That reminds me of something else. Baphomet. Yes, the one that the Masons and all these other people are secretly serving. Wouldn't it be hilarious if, I don't know, hilarious or just scary sad, if people realized that the one that they're afraid of is the same one that they're serving, ultimately listening and following the will, because he's got you covered coming or going. And again, when Yeshua was basically verbally assaulted by the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and he said to them, my God's not your God, because their God was this God. And when you look at the Abrahamic tradition, that includes Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Of course, there's different subsets within all of those. And there's so many people that simply just want to be doing good, want to be doing right. That's all they want to do, is they want to be a better person, but they don't understand that some of the principal concepts that they're given are actually negative concepts that limit one's perspective, that keep people in a fear-based system. My mom used to say, I like the church much better now, she's talking about the Catholic Church, than when I was growing up, because all they talked about when I was a kid was hellfire and damnation. You're going to hell. You're going to hell. You're going to hell. You're a worthless sinner. You're going to be tortured forever in burning fire. And, that's not really the case. Just look to people's stories after death and near-death experiences. You don't really find a lot of that. And, again, that's all fear-based control system. When they talk about the whole concept of original sin, because, the very first female did something that she wasn't supposed to do, tempted her husband to have a yummy apple. Well, now everybody that's born is under, the law of, paying back that original sin. It's ridiculous. It really is, but it's fear-based. And it controls people's minds, because this is what they're brought up with. And it's sad, because then again, we're expecting to be punished. We're expecting to be tortured. We're expecting, the tribulation with one plague after another. And we are taught to believe we have it coming. They're giving us self-fulfilling prophecies so that we will fulfill them.
Mm-hmm. And just look at the systems. We have the religious system. They're always, creating fear, hellfire, and damnation. Look at the political system. They're always creating fear and all of these things that are going to go wrong, yet they're always saying, but we're going to fix everything, when really everything just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. The longer we follow these leaders, we're just going to follow them right into a hole.
And there's many people that have a lot of they got the biggest part of the picture, but they're missing key things. And so here we see, and this is from Michael Sala, he's speaking about the Vedic text, describing the conflictual relationship between the Asuras and the Devas, who are depicted as the primary protagonists for control over the Earth, cities, and other planets. The Asuras, which are the dark ones, the evil ones that we would say are more demonic per se. The Asuras you can really equate to the Anunnaki, Gigi, Draco, appear intent on taking direct control over human cities and civilizations. And here he's saying that those are the Nephilim depicted in the book of Enoch. The Asuras use advanced technologies to invade different planets to establish direct control through interbreeding and introduction of advanced technologies. The chief protagonists are the Devas. They also use advanced technologies in their never-ending conflict with the Asuras. But in contrast, the Devas are intent on establishing what they call the Sanatana Dharma, which is the eternal law, where righteous human rulers were in charge of Earth's different kingdoms and civilizations. The Devas did not appear interested in ruling directly over the Earth. They were content in ruling over their own world or realm called Devaloka. In times when the Asuras had overrun the Earth and Devaloka itself, the Devas appealed for help from the Celestials. The celestials were typically the physical embodiment or incarnation of one of three key Hindu gods, Shiva, Vishnu, or Brahma, or of the feminine divine being, the Deva, the Shakti. The Puranas give numerous accounts of how the celestials would intervene in times of cultural degeneration to restore the Sanatana Dharma and help the Devas in their perennial conflict with the Asuras. And the Devas are the ones, primarily, and the Devas are not just really the Hindu gods when you get down to it, so while we do have for guides that we count on every day and call on every day, such as Lakshmi and Ganesha and Vishnu as well, and many others. Also, we could put into that category many other beings that are not necessarily from this tradition, so to speak, like Aset, because they work together. Aset, most know as Isis. I mean, they work together, and from the Native American tradition, White Buffalo Calf Woman, Mother Mary. Again, these beings are all on the same side. Yeshua too. They're all about restoring the balance and the harmony, because these dark beings, they just want control.
Mm-hmm. Right. And this is supposed to be an experience. This is supposed to be a beautiful experience of source energy. And there's so many different pieces of us that are connected to so many different pieces of these devas. And it really seems like they want us to be scared of any other entity besides the one they tell us to worship. And the thing is when we have these connection with these other entities, these other deities, they can really help us. They can really, truly help us if we so ask, if we desire, as long as we are open to their energies and receiving help. It's just like receiving healing from your own mother. It's like receiving a hug or a kiss from your own mom or your dad, somebody who truly cares about you. Their energy makes a difference in your life.
Absolutely. And so, is there a creator of this universe that is a benevolent being? Absolutely. A wonderful benevolent being. There's also these other beings that pretend to be that creator that are not benevolent. They just want you as a slave. They want your life force. They want to control you and use you. And those are not benevolent beings at all. It's easy enough. You will know them by the fruit they bear. Are they sowing seeds of hatred, division, fear, and war? Or are they sowing the seeds of peace? It's pretty simple. And it's just about opening up and using the faculties of our higher intuitive nature. And so in order to really do that clearly, we have to kind of detox ourselves of all the technology that they're always enveloping us in, all the big FARMA that they're trying to get us to ingest, that's going to, again, lower our vibes, and avoid the poisons that are in the air, the water, and the food as much as we can. Just hang in there, because we are going to get to a point where they are losing control, and you could just see by the way they're pushing. They're getting closer all the time, and they're getting more desperate. So don't be afraid to call on the benevolent beings. And we do want to thank everybody, again, that supports us on Patreon and Ko-Fi. Do check out our playlist if you want to start connecting as well. The mantras for activating higher consciousness. I don't think there's any greater powers for connecting to these truly benevolent beings, and especially in Sanskrit, because Sanskrit is, it's like the root language that we have on Earth at this time, that goes back to the time when these beings were here with us, teaching us, the good beings, the fifth density and above beings that were here and teaching us, just like big brothers and big sisters. That's how they are to us. And they don't make themselves out to be the creator of all. Now, there are humans that will always tend to elevate one above another. Hey, I like this one better. Oh, I like this one. I'm right. That's human nature and human ego. These beings are well beyond all that. They really are. And all they want to do is help.
Yeah, that's really important to remember. In the Sanskrit, I do feel is more powerful. The English language is very chaotic, and I think it's cursed. And the spelling. Think of all those words that we learn when we're little.
Cursive.
Yeah. No, we learned cursive.
Have a good morning.
I know, it's right. It's just wrong. So I really get a lot out of doing the Sanskrit. So, but everybody's different, feel around, see what you like, and maybe graduate up later.
God bless and namaste.
Namaste.